Investors are always looking for the financial Santa Claus, and they frequently find someone who looks very much like Santa Claus. But in the fullness of time, it turns out that the person they were really looking at was Homer Simpson and a Santa Claus.
When you're a systematic investor, your process makes the decision. So the decisions are made by your models that you design, and you follow the process. And my personal experience with this trading managed future strategies, it's usually when I'm the most uncomfortable and the most concerned, and my stomach hurts a little bit about the markets, when the opportunities are often the best.
If low interest rates help the stock market in as an aggregate, why on earth is Europe priced at half our multiples? Why is Japan priced at 2/3 our multiples? Why was the US stock market in the 1950s on average priced at 1/3 today's multiples? So low interest rates aren't the panacea for stock market valuations people think. I worry. I don't predict a market crash. I just predict depressingly anemic stock market returns for the 2020s.
Small cap value dramatically outperforms coming out of a recession. So if you buy small cap value in a recession, your odds of the small cap premium or the value premium or both working go up dramatically, right? There's academic research that says actually those factors are 8x more predictable at times of crisis.
If people want to buy some drinks, if they want to follow along with what y'all are up to, what's the best places to go?
So if you go to uglydrinks.com, we've created a special code for listeners. So it's uglymeb, all in caps, UPLYMEB. It will give you 20% off if you're in the UK or the US on everything.
Right. And I just thought, well, this is the dumbest short of all time. So I figured I would tweet out that, hey, this is going to turn out to be a disaster. And you should own this thing because you're going to get it on the upside. And so it was a pretty simple thing. And so we bought it. And I would love to tell you that I sold it at 355. But you would know that I would be lying because you know there's no way I could hold it to 355. So we didn't sell it, but we made a very good multiple on our money on this. And to me, it was just it was an easy risk reward.
All right, now let's think about how are we going to get that money to those people. And you're going to love this, Mev. You know how they're getting them? Somebody built a portal for the IRS to administer this. You know who it was? Intuit.
Oh God. You're making my palms sweat over here. Oh my Lord. Man.
Valuations, they do matter, right? And of course, a richly valued company, a country or a company can get increasingly richer and more overvalued, right? And again, it's that idea of it's easier to know what's going to happen than when it's going to happen. But you know that when you buy that really expensive company or that really expensive country, right, most likely your odds aren't that good. And when you buy that really cheap thing, most likely your odds are pretty good.
And that's kind of the evolution or what's happened to data, within the hedge fund world. The quants got it right. The quantamental guys have done very well. The discretionary guys, not so much.
A year ago in our investor letter, we said that Bitcoin was born in a financial crisis and it was going to come of age in this one. And I really think that's a great way to think about it, that Satoshi created Bitcoin as a result of the 2008 global financial crisis. And it's really coming into its own now in this new version of that.
I always joke that, some women like to buy shoes and I love to buy options. So you got to do what you love.
I feel like the argument usually goes like this. All right. So if you can get a firm to admit that, hey, private equity in general has underperformed just a broad base equity investment. And I feel like the response almost always is, yeah, but there's persistence here. And so you have to invest in top quartile. If you're not in the top quartile, yeah, obviously it's just going to be like the S&P or worse, but clearly we're going to be top quartile. Does that argument hold any water? Because I hear it all the time.
Yeah, so do I. And it's sort of like an urban myth, sort of like the tooth fairy. So if you have a belief in the tooth fairy, you're going to believe what you just, the argument you just stated.
We are incredibly excited about Solana. So Solana is a new layer 1 blockchain. It's fast, it's cheap, and you can do things on Solana that you can't do on other blockchains like Ethereum.
We said to him, no, I don't know if you have a cash flow problem right now, but don't sell this horse. This is really something. And we got to the point where we said, sell your house, don't sell this horse. And somehow that got heard. And it was the quote of the day in the New York Times, Friday in June, I think it was June 5th, the day before the horse won the Triple Crown. And they had an article, front page center, about this guy. He was a passionate guy. He was a big gambler. And so anyway, that's that story. Sell your house, don't sell this horse. So he didn't.
And the interesting part is you guys actually had to buy it back, right? I mean, it was
he had to buy it back. It was in the auction at that point, but he bought it back for $300,000. So he had to pay the commission, the 5% or something.
So the listeners who aren't familiar with horse racing, Triple Crown, and this is the first winner, and how long? It's been
37 years.
If you're thinking about valuations over a short time frame, you're likely going to be disappointed in using them as a, sort of your benchmark for how asset classes should perform. I think valuations tend to work well over a 5 to 10 year time frame, and they really only tend to work well when you're seeing valuation well in excess or well under what their sort of long-term strategic value should be. So if you see equities that are 2 standard deviations above the long-term sort of fair value, that's probably a good time to sell equities over the next 10 years.
I published a paper years ago. I talked about this, like Dennis Rodman is an example of this in basketball. Rodman was 6 standard deviations better at rebounding than the average player. So when you put Dennis Rodman on a team of mediocre scorers, the team's offensive efficiency went up and their wins went up, even though Rodman himself was not a great scorer. This is what Paul de Podesta meant by saying, you don't buy players, you buy wins. Well, the investment management industry is stuck measuring the player and not the wins. They're so focused on individual asset or manager performance that they're not focused on how that manager or how that asset helps your total portfolio.